RX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's here to welcome you. I'm so glad you're here. So I can help keep you company and take your mind off of stuff. If you're new, welcome. You're in, I wouldn't say you're in for a treat. You're in for something different, and it may be a treat to you. But I hope I can help. I'm so glad you're here. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots. Would love you to join our Patreon, support the show. You get it's a membership program. You get ad-free episodes at $5 a month and story-only episodes. At $10 a month, you get 2 all-intro episodes every month. And at $10 and $20, you're pretty much getting content 5 nights a week. So whether you like intros, you like stories, you like Ray, you want more Great British Bake Off, you like the Fearless Flyers, you like the archives, $10 and $20 patrons have access all the way back to episode 2. There's like 1,000 plus things in the feed, so more than 1,000. So if you listen to the show a lot, or you listen all night long, you don't use a sleep timer, you listen to back-to-back episodes, or you're in a position to do so, think about becoming a patron. sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Think about becoming an annual patron to get a month free, and it helps our show. It helps us because it's less declined payments, and it saves money in processing fees. But you can become a monthly patron or an annual patron. It's sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Thanks, everybody. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Have you tried the Name Your Price tool yet? It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to find a rate that works for you. It's just one of the many ways you could save with Progressive. Get your quote today at Progressive.com and see why 4 out of 5 new auto customers recommend Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. All right, everybody, you heard me talk about Helix, the amazing mattress I sleep in. Well, Helix left the bedroom. They're making amazing sofas through their new company, Allform. And you know what makes Allform so cool? I just found out. I just expanded my Allform by 1 seat. I'll put a video up in the next couple weeks at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. But it's so easy to customize. Allform sofas have premium materials that are spill, stain, and scratch resistant. You get to pick the fabric, the sofa color, the color of the legs, and the size and the shape to make sure it's perfect for you and your home. But then you can change it up so easily if you want to expand, if you move, because they have armchairs and love seats all the way up to an 8-seat sectional. So there's something for everyone. And that way, your Allform sofa can grow and change with you. It gets better because Allform sofas are delivered directly to your home with fast, free shipping. So there's no setting up delivery. There's no paying someone to assemble it. In fact, you don't even need any tools. Allform takes 3 to 7 days to arrive in the mail, and you can put it yourself together in just a few minutes. I love my Allform. It's a beautiful gray. Like I said, spill, stain, and scratch resistant, so I don't have to worry about koa or when I spill my coffee or my drinks. But if getting a sofa without trying it in the store sounds risky, don't worry about it. You get 100 days to decide if you want to keep it. That's more than 3 months. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up for free, give you a full refund. They even offer a forever warranty that's literally forever. So get over there. Start designing your perfect sofa at allform.com/sleep. And Allform is offering 20% off all orders for our listeners at allform.com/sleep. That's allform.com/sleep. Up to 20% off all orders. ALLFORM.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody. It is time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone. One part of the podcast I need you here. It's where I pop my peas, if you please. It's where I thank the listeners who not only supported the sponsors, but elevated their sponsor support by letting the sponsor know about it, especially on social media, tagging them, tagging me. But also, if you don't use social media, send them an email, give them a call, send them a letter, and let them know their support of Sleep With Me is important to you. That's how we retain sponsors. All our sponsors are direct response, meaning, they base their support on the show on the direct response they give from the listeners. It's not like a brand awareness thing. And that's how we're able to be here for you. Free choice week. I try to do these fast, but then I go off topic. And I want to thank Will and Linz, who both supported Brooklyn, got to Brooklyn and back up, and let Brooklyn know about it. Let me know about it, especially if you tag me at Dearest Scooter on Twitter or Instagram with some pictures or something and what you got. So the sponsors love that. They love hearing from people that really benefited from their sponsorship. So thank you, Will. Thank you, Linz, for supporting Brooklyn. And the second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need. There's links to resources you could connect with right now, international resources right in our show notes. If you have extra needs right now, use those links. It's about supporting our communities with our actions, saying Black Lives Matter, saying stop AAP, I hate, saying let's make a positive changes here. So there's links to resources where you can learn more and take action. And one of the actions I'm taking is trying to create a long-term relationship, raising awareness, raising funds, and more with some organizations that I really believe in. And one of those organizations is the Midnight Mission. It's at midnightmission.org. And the Midnight Mission is a comprehensive homeless shelter and homeless services provider serving the Los Angeles homeless community. And the Midnight Mission takes an approach that fuses care and compassion with meaningful accountability, providing the structure and resources that people experiencing homelessness need to truly improve their lives. You could support them. You can learn more at midnightmission.org. The link is in our show notes. And stay tuned because we're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff to support the Midnight Mission and a few other organizations this year. So stay tuned, get involved, and be a part of positive change. And that is the end of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Posty poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support, dear Scooter, on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. If you want to keep up to date on all the fun stuff we're doing to support nonprofit organizations, you can find out more at sleepwithmepodcast.com/rebel news. That's our newsletter just for the fun stuff we're doing to raise awareness and funds for nonprofits. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/rebel news. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts on your mind, thoughts like you're thinking about the past, present, and the future. It could be feelings, anything emotionally coming up for you about those thoughts or the past, the present, the future. The feelings, they're there. Feelings, sometimes they're there, sometimes they're really there. Sometimes you wonder where. Feelings. What more can I say? I could say a lot more, but also physical sensations, whatever else could be keeping you awake. It could be changes in your time, your temperature, your routine. You might not know. Yeah, I've been there. Waking up early. I said, what's up with that? I thought I was going to sleep later. Pacing dog. That's what I had last night that was keeping me up. Co was pacing between my daughter's room and my room. Turned out it was just, she just needed to be tucked back in. I said, what's going on? I got out of bed. I said, what's going on? What can I do for you? What can I do you for? I figured we were on our way out the front door, but she said, no, I mean, she wasn't cool. She was actually very clear because, you know, if she wanted to go to the restroom, she probably would have led me or she would have followed me because I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to lead by example, use the old WC. And then I came back down. She was still down in my room. And she just like literally wanted to be tucked in, I think. I mean, she may have, like my daughter may have, here's what I'm guessing. But maybe my daughter shifted where she was sleeping. I threw her coat off. She got out of bed. She was going to get back in bed. And she said, I prefer to be tucked in. So I just tucked her in my room on her, what do you call it? Her dog bed. That's what you call it, right? Where a dog sleeps, a dog bed. And I put her green blanket on her, folded over once, and then I put it on her, much like, talk about service. Yes, these are the services I provide for my dog. That's why I also make a sleep podcast. These things go together. Oh, what time was it about? It was somewhere between 1:30 and 2 in the morning. And I was deep asleep until the pacing began because I could hear it. Also, I put in a new night light, so I said, okay. Was that in my imagination? No, we can see the night lights. And she paced like 9 or 10 times. But whatever's keeping you awake, like I said, it could be something new every time, or it could be something situational, whatever it is. I'm here to help. I'm really here to keep you company, whether you're awake or asleep. And what I propose to do is I'm going to try to create a safe place where you can set all that aside. I smooth it, I pat it, I rub it down. I provide a blanket. I get practice with my dog. I say, okay, go ahead, lie down. That's what I said to her. I said, okay, so you don't got to go to the bathroom? I said, do you want to lie down? She lied down. I said, do you want your blanket? You want to be tucked in? Okay, got it. Job done. So I'm here to tuck you in a little bit more different way than tucking in my dog. Because actually she doesn't like to be, here's the thing. When I tuck her in, no tucking involved. I found she doesn't like to be tucked in. So I guess figuratively, it's pretty close to tucking her in. I drape her in. I drape her down. I give her the old Don Draper. I don't know what that means. I guess I do. It sells her on going back to bed because I drape a blanket over her. But I found if I tuck her in, one, she doesn't like that because she either thinks that I'm trying to do something or I'm tickling her. But also I think it just makes her too warm, where if the blanket's just draped, she can move around. She can get her feet out, if you got 4 paws instead of 2 feet, you're probably, my feet get warm sometimes. She's got 4 paws. Oh, I was supposed to be introducing a sleep podcast. Sorry, this is my new product for, just for Koa, Don Drapering. You see, Scoots, was that a move you did on a snowboard, the Don Draper? Nope, it's just when I put a blanket on my dog, folded over blanket. Not always, but that's when I call it the Don Draper. When I sell her on going back to sleep by draping a blanket, I call it the Don Draper. So no, it doesn't have to do with snowboarding, but could be a skateboard move, or I'm sure it is somewhere. Maybe 10 years ago when it was relevant. Like it could have been, but right now it's not. None of it is relevant to making a sleep podcast, or barely relevant. So if you're new, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. What's the kind of thing, if you watch Don, I could see Don Draper draping a dog, so actually it fits within the character, too. What's the kind of thing Don Draper would do? Not a perfect person, but probably would drape a blanket on a dog. So I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents, which you've already seen. Superfluous tangents, pointless meanders, and creaky, dulcet tones have gone off topic. Where I was trying to introduce the podcast, and I went off topic early, and then I went off topic again. And all that is part of the spirit of the show, because this is a podcast you just barely listen to. You just kind of listen, or you can listen if you need to. This podcast is here to be here for you, to keep you company, but it can keep you company in a way where you could be a little bit engaged with it or not engaged at all. So it's a podcast you don't really listen to. You just kind of listen to it in a fuzzy way, kind of like the fuzzy blanket I put on my furry dog. And, good question. I just felt it coming in from the audience. No static. We've never had, with this particular blanket, we've never had a static issue. Trying to think. It's been a few years. It has come up before. I'm glad you asked that question, but no static. I think maybe when I lived at a place with a hardwood floor, we may have had some static issues where I would have to touch something before I did the John Draper. Not the John Draper. I don't know what the John Draper's when I draper after going to the John to warm her up. Okay. Oh, so this is a podcast you don't really listen to. Also doesn't really put you to sleep. It's here to keep you company while you fall asleep. So I make this show for everybody that's listening, but I keep in mind that there's a small percentage of listeners that maybe are going through something or have a type of insomnia or need a break during the day and they need to listen. So I'm here to keep you company to the very end. And I think that's really what works about the show is that I'm here for you. And maybe some part of your mind knows that and it can just listen to me ramble on and on and on instead of bugging you about the spreadsheet or whatever, the shopping list or whatever's keeping you awake. So those are two things to know. The show is really supported by a foundation of this fact. You are important and you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a safe place in a bedtime you could feel good about. And that's really, my dream would be to provide a bedtime that everybody can look forward to. That's not really achievable, but that's what I strive for. And it's just a fact, like, you really do deserve a good night's sleep. And I know how it feels, as I said, in the deep, dark night, trying to get back to sleep after that one. It was just like where I was, like, I said, okay, now I'm going to get back to sleep. And then it was like a little bit elusive for me. And then I also said, well, should I just go for it and take her out? She didn't have to go to the bathroom. But, then my mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. So I've been there. I know how it feels. But I also know if you get the rest you need, if you get the rest you deserve, your life's going to be more manageable. It's going to be better. And that means the world we all live in is a better place to be in. If your life's better, all our lives are better. And I know part of you might not feel that's true. It is. It is really true. And it really is important. So those are a couple things to know. There's also a bunch of other things that throw new listeners off. One fact is this podcast just does not work for everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But even for the hundreds of thousands of regular listeners, it takes 2 or 3 tries. That's what tons and tons of reviews say. I would say the majority of our reviews say one of 3 things. I strongly loathe you, but people use more creative language than that. It took 2 or 3 tries, and then I started realizing the podcast will never make any sense, and now I fall asleep to it. Or I've tried everything, and everything was a little bit too normal for me, and nothing worked until I found this show. And all those are really important to me. So if you loathe me, give it a few tries if you can, but you don't have to. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. Has a ton of other sleepy stuff and sleep audio you could check out. But give the show a few tries just in case it'll work, or come back a few months later or a few years later. That's what other reviewers say. They say, I loathed you at first, and then a couple of years later, I tried again, and now I love this show so much I almost never listen to it, but it's always playing. So give it a few tries and see how it goes. Another thing about the show that I like to set up here is the structure of the show. The show is structured in a very specific way, but you can adjust as you become a regular listener how you listen. But really, because this is just the way we deliver the show, and it kind of works for the majority of listeners, but you can change it up as you become a regular listener and see what works for you. But the show's designed in a particular way. It starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Usually I say something funny. Today I couldn't think anything funny. Or barely funny if you're stickler, and like that way you feel seen and greeted and welcomed in. Then there's support, so the show can be free on all podcast platforms is what my goal is, and come out twice a week. That's what seems to work best. And the sponsors and the people that support the show on Patreon are the ones that enable that. Then there's support for listeners, and then there's an intro, which we're most of the way through. The intro is around 12 to 20 minutes long. And the intro, the support can really throw people off, but the intro, sometimes people think it's part of the support or part of the housekeeping. It really is a show within a show, where I try to introduce what the podcast is, and then I go off topic. I think about what my dog was doing last night or whatever it is, and then I think about Don Draper, and then I think about, and even part of my brain is still running to say, well, what would you do on a snowboard if you, like, and you say, what does it matter, Scoots, because it's not relevant anymore. And I say, come on, there's a Don Draper project. It might be Don Draper Jr. or something, but there's got to be a Don Draper project in the, somewhere, whether it's, a miniseries, a full-length motion picture, or, another series. I mean, probably, or a pamphlet. You say, oh, yeah, Matthew Weiner he just called in on my imaginary phone. He said, yeah, I'm working on a 4-page pamphlet. It's, as of yet, untitled Don Draper pamphlets. I'd say, well, I love that, Matthew, because I'm sure that creative limitation is really going to get the most out of you. And I'm not kidding. I'd be delighted to see it. Because I'd say, what would even a Don Draper, other than being stunningly handsome and, I don't know, like super good at advertising and charming people and, being interesting to say, oh, this is interesting watching this Don Draper. What would I do? I don't think I could do that or would do that, but I like watching him do it. Oh, boy, TMI. Okay, so don't put that in the pamphlet. Where was it? Oh, the intro can get really, it goes on and on and on. So that can be frustrating if you're new, because you say, aren't you going to get to the point? Aren't you going to get to the bedtime story? Why are you going on and on about your dog and putting a blanket on it? And I say, well, because the intro serves as a transition from being awake to going to sleep. It's part of people's wind down routine. And you could do that whatever works for you. Some people are getting ready for bed. Some people are in bed. Some people are sleeping. Some 2 or 3% of people skip the intro. A few thousand people listen to story-only episodes on Patreon. But for most people, you're doing something calm, maybe, or you're just getting comfortable. And it just helps ease you into bedtime. It's just what I've seen work personally, and from all the sleep information I've taken in over the past, 7, 8, 9 years, is that winding down and having a transition, having a twilight is what sets me up personally for success a lot of the time to get a good night's sleep. And so the intro is kind of this transition phase to ease you into bedtime. Then after the intro will be support for the show. Again, my goal, twice a week for free. And then there'll be a bedtime story. Tonight it'll be our episodically modular series, Spice Friends. I think it's finally the title I decided on here on episode 3 or episode 4. I think this intro's for episode 3, though, I hope. And then there's thank yous at the end. So this is structure the show. That's why I make the show. And I'm really glad you're here. I work really hard. I yearn and I strive. I really hope I can help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to do this for you free twice a week. All right, everybody, it is time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Brooklinen. And, Valentine's Day, we're in the Valentine's season, right? Because every day is Valentine's Day when you give yourself the gift of sleep and quality, cozy bedding, comfortable clothes. Brooklinen specializes in all the comforts you need for a little TLC this V-Day season. Brooklinen was founded to create beautiful luxury home essentials essentials at prices that didn't break the bank. They work directly with manufacturers to give you great products at a fair price. No middle people, no markups. And they have bedding for every kind of sleeper, whether you sleep hot or cold or somewhere in the middle, they have you covered. They have so much more than the internet's favorite sheets. They have plush pillows, absorbent towels, cozy fleece loungewear, and more. And they have these amazing bundles so you can save even more when you stock up on essentials for your place. If you know somebody that's moving, what a great gift to give them a Brooklinen bundle. Or if you just moved into a new place, get yourself a bundle of towels, get yourself a bundle of bedding, and you will be good to go. Now, I love my Brooklinen towels. I have the super plush ones. They are so amazing to wrap myself in after a shower. So cozy. But then I love changing my sheets. There's nothing that will improve your sleep better and you'll feel better about than changing your sheets out on a regular basis. Really, if you haven't tried it, it is so luxurious. And you can save even more money if you go to brooklinen.com and you use the promo code sleepwithme. That's one word for $20 off your purchase of $100 or more. That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter that promo code sleepwithme. One word for $20 off. brooklinen.com. You got to use Sleep With Me. Refresh your rest with the comfort essentials from Brooklinen. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it is time to talk about our newest sponsor, Beam. We all know about the issues lack of sleep can cause with mood and health and productivity, but not everyone realizes having a quality bedtime routine is so important. Your better tomorrow starts tonight. And I found over years of doing this podcast and having trouble sleeping, that having a consistent wind down routine actually works. And not only helps me fall asleep, it helps me stay asleep. It helps me look forward to bedtime. And that's where Beam Dream comes in. And today, Sleep With Me listeners get a special discount on Beam's sleep product, Dream Powder, their best-selling healthy hot cocoa. It has natural sleep-promoting premium ingredients, triple lab-tested, no THC. 98% of people surveyed fall asleep faster when taking Beam Dream, and 99% of people experience better sleep quality. Beam has premium nano CBD, which dramatically increases your body's ability to absorb CBD, making their products the most effective in the wellness space. And all you do is mix Beam Dream into hot water, milk, stir it up, and enjoy it 30 minutes before bedtime. It is so tasty. You know, you sit down, you have a quiet moment with your hot cocoa, both hands wrapped around it, making a special moment as a part of your bedtime routine. And make Beam Dream a tasty, comforting start to your bedtime routine. Then find out why Forbes and New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes like Danica Patrick and Baker Mayfield. And if you don't love it, you get your money back guaranteed. For a limited time, get $20 off $75 or more when you go to beamorganics.com/sleepwithme and use the code sleepwithme at checkout. That's beamorganics.com/sleepwithme and use the code sleepwithme for $20 off. Make 2022 the year of you with Beam. Hey everybody, it's Scoots here. This is our ongoing episodically modular series, Spice Friends. I have trouble saying that, Spice Friends. And it's a tale of a world pretty much like our world and a little bit in the future. Episodically modular means you can listen to them in any order. So even though this is episode 3, don't worry, you could listen to episodes 1 and 2 after you listen to episode 9 and 10, and it just, or episode 3 first, and then episode 1 and 2, because I'm going to tell you everything you need to know right now. That way, that's like you say, well, I like reoccurring characters, but I don't like having to listen to things in order. I say that's what episodically modular is all about. So tonight's episode and the series Spice Friends, you know, this is one of those series could have multiple titles. The big ones, big emojis, or the Spice Friends. Because thus far we knew about the big ones and our two main characters, President Willow Smith and the astronaut. I should have done a series. Maybe that'll be like the Winter Soldier. That'll be like a little Cold War espionage series. I'll do one other day, some other day. So, okay, so where were we? Well, so the series is about, so President Smith, she's the president of the Cooperative Nations, which is a broader, more, I think, more than just what would be called the United States, but like, she's what we would call president of the world. That's the easiest way to say it, but not in some sort of elected way. We haven't got into any parliamentary procedure at all. But because that would say that would actually keep, some people might say, Thomas Guide. I want more Robert's Rules of Order. And I'd say, well, there's probably a podcast out there for that, but this isn't the one. So let's just go with the fact that President Smith is president of the world in shorthand, that it took me 5 sentences to say. And the astronaut is an astronaut that went to outer space and returned with some secret information, special knowledge. The special knowledge you need to solve a big problem. In this case, the problem was the big ones. And again, the big ones are something you're familiar with for the most part if you've consumed any kind of film. If you've been around for the past, any time in the last 100 years, you've probably seen them portrayed in different media. They're giant beings. They like to step on stuff. Sometimes they raise their voices. Sometimes they get into dances with one another. They go out, they go to cities, skyscrapers tremble. When you see a big one, and if you're a skyscraper, you might, especially neon signs. If you're a neon sign or someone that lives near a neon sign, you say, oh boy, that's a big one. Is that, moth breath who's in this episode, or, lizard head, or ankylosaurus, or, somebody, I don't know. Those aren't necessarily big ones, but, so we lived in a world just like you see in the movies at one time. Actually, when President Smith was vice president of the United States, Smith, big ones came. And her father, President Smith, they happened to be the first father-daughter president-vice president team. He did his best to deal with stuff, and he dealt with it, or he bought us enough time, actually, and he got all the big ones on this island called Big One Atoll. That had been our solution for a while. But, things go through phases. But President Smith got him there. President Smith went to the big one in the sky. President Smith actually took a super serum that turned President Smith into a big one. That happened before our series, though. But would be a cool movie to see. Probably won't see it because people say that's like doesn't. They say so a regular person. I say, well, no, not a regular person. President Smith. A hero who had now I'm telling you a backstory, but a hero who had lost a lot of stuff and still wanted to save so many things and still had so many things to save. Gave all, not just everything, but also his humanity and his role as president of the United States to become a big one himself, to get the big ones to Big One Island again, so Planet Zipper could put them in hibernation. Also, our entire planet in hibernation. But it ends up big ones hibernate longer. If your whole planet gets hit by what I could assume is a hibernation ray or beam. But so, yeah, this is probably a better point to introduce. All of the big ones for a while had been asleep on Big One Island, hibernating. The astronaut returned from a trip to Planet Zipper, where the astronaut was supposed to get secret knowledge to deal with the big ones on a longer-term basis. President Smith, of course, she was like, this is great. What do you got? Some sort of serum or some sort of, device or like what? Some sort of technique? He said, yeah, I do have a technique. It's called children's programming and the joy of dance and song. And even though this is fiction, so it's not based on any sort of sound practices for teaching lessons through joy and dance, this astronaut was like based, like if they were in a non-fictional world, that of course would happen. But they said, yeah, we're going to teach song and dance to children and everything's going to work out, these big ones. And of course, President Smith said, I have constituents here to deal with, and so I'm going to have to make alternative plans because what are we going to do? And then a big one awoke, moth breath, the big moth. And then moth breath sealed all the other big ones in cocoons, or not cocoons, but, wrapped them in silk. Then we found out that the big one, that there's some sort of followers of moth breath that were singing to moth breath, and they claimed to be able to control moth breath. And they said, by the way, we want a bunch of stuff and a bunch of power, or we're going to, moth breath's going to do stuff. Now, we never determined if they were if they were telling the truth or not, because the astronaut did point out, well, it seems like this behavior is how moth breath would behave either way. Now, meanwhile, President Smith was like, well, what about this solution from Planet Zipper? And they had kind of introduced these characters called the Spice Friends over the past few years that were super popular on cereal and stuff, and they were supposed to launch a show. Originally, it was just supposed to be part of a broader show. But then last week, it turned out they said, well, let's go with the Spice Friends idea. And they taught a pretty simple lesson about how, like, dancing and saying, hey, I see you. I'm so glad to see you. Welcome. Come on in. Oh, you're having strong feelings? Okay, I can see that. I'm here to help. It was more or less the crux of the show. And ended up that actually worked. Oh, because the astronaut had a manifestation theory who said, all of a sudden these big ones appeared on Earth right around the time we started futzing around with splitting atoms and fusing them and fissioning them. And basically, does that stir some sort of archetypal deep feelings in humans, knowing that humanity has crossed a threshold of discovery where the threshold is powerful enough, to unhumanity everybody. And is that what true, like, how come the big ones appeared then? A lot of people say, well, it's probably because they want to eat that stuff or something. And the manifestation theory would say, no, it's because once we had those strong feelings, it created the big ones. So now I'm putting words in the astronaut's mouth, but more or less, I think we can manifest something not in opposition to those feelings, but like something that also manifests from feelings that are more positive and maybe more empowering. And then if you don't, what harm could it be in empowering children through the power of song and dance? I'm sure someone would find a way, but at least in this story, it's a good thing. Now, turns out, astronaut was right. They started doing these dances. It did take a few different writing sessions and rehearsals. All of a sudden, a giant cinnamon stick with a big smile, arms and legs, same size as moth breath, appears in moth breath's path as moth breath is approaching the shoreline of one of the, like a country. And that's where we left off. Big smiling, big eyes, beautifully kind looking giant cinnamon stick, and then a big moth, known as moth breath. But here we've got a big Hollywood actor whose heart is bigger than anything else. Well, maybe not as big as his smile and his charm, but probably it is. That's probably where it comes from anyway. Mr. Antonio Banderas. Thank you, Scooter. Is the ladies, is the gentlemen, is the boys, is the girls, the friends beyond the binary. It's time for an adventure with our spice friends. Spicy. Oh, thanks. That's Mr. Antonio Banderas, and this is Spice Friends, everybody. Okay, I'm recording here, and I'm trying to assess how things are going. I mean, this first recording, I'm still kind of having trouble absorbing things. There is a giant smiling cinnamon stick, one of the Spice Friends that I've seen, and believe it or not, as an aside, that is actually my favorite cereal, Cinnamon Spice. And I know it's changed over the years because originally it looked like cinnamon sticks, and then there was some confusion around that they're not real cinnamon sticks. They were cereal, so then it was changed to its current incarnation. But I love the flavor and the crunch. So I guess that makes it even harder for me as president of the world, shorthand, to think clearly. And if I hadn't lived my life, I would think I was in a dream, and I still wonder if I'm in a dream, but I know I'm not because I have a lot of responsibility to carry through with. So as I'm recording this, I just watched Cinnamon Spice come out of the sea or appear in the sea, and it's a bright sunny day. Cinnamon Spice came up and stood between the shore and Moth Breath, who was flying, and Moth Breath has kind of been circling and yelling. And I'm watching multiple live feeds now, and I have a meeting because we got. Well, I guess I have a meeting with you. I'm waiting for you to contact me and come in here. I don't know who's going to be listening to this. Maybe you will be, but it is heavy for me, and I can't help but be excited to see what is happening. And I hope you're right, and I hope this is the solution. I also am trying to figure out what's going on Big One's atoll. But yeah, part of me is like, this could be it. This could solve everything. Also, well, I don't know. Okay, so Moth Breath is now moving in, and Cinnamon Stick has been slowly back towards the shore. And, okay, Moth Breath is kicking up we've seen this pattern of behavior before, kicking up a lot of sand and kind of creating a tornado with its wings. Oh, no. So Cinnamon Stick fell down. And this is the Cinnamon Stick is getting buried in, there's giant dunes on this shore, and the dunes are, okay, well, sorry, I'm not good at recording this because Cinnamon Stick is being buried in the sand in a sandstorm. It's hard to see, but it's pretty clear that the giant dunes kind of rolled down onto Cinnamon Stick. So, well, that was a pretty quick change in my feelings, because if Cinnamon Stick, okay, they said you're about to come in. I'm going to have to pause this recording. But if that stick is not coming out of that sand, that's one option down. I have two options left, seemingly. So, okay, let me, let me pause it. I was recording something. Okay, I'm back, and it's been a little while since I hit record on this, and I don't know if this will stir your memories, but we talked about it, and you were excited, and then you're less crestfallen than me. I think probably because you don't have as much responsibility as me. But you also had to, you said, trust me, it's going to be okay. Don't worry. Or go ahead and worry, but it's still going to be okay. Well, Cinnamon Stick will get through this. And for a short time, the whole world, there was news reports and takes on it that Cinnamon Stick was buried in the sand and not coming out. Moth Breath seemed to be pretty thorough in its burying of Cinnamon Stick. And then Moth Breath headed inland to deal with the port that had launched the ship, that had the materials that it was meant to create a distraction. Now, meanwhile, you had said, don't worry, we're going to go, we've got a show ready to go, live to air. The writing team and the entire team has been working on ideas, and we're going to get Cinnamon Stick up. And you did this show about falling down and saying again these kind of same things. Hey, I see you there. I see you fell down. Go ahead and get back up. Wow, did that, go ahead and get up. And you had some different chants and call and responses to that. And Cinnamon Stick did unbury itself, and dust itself off, very similar to the message you gave to the children and the adults and the parents and the young adults and the older adults and the sentient mammals watching the show, or even non-sentient mammals, because I saw my cat watching it. But my cat may be familiar with Cinnamon Stick, and though not a giant Cinnamon Stick from this box is a cereal that throughout my life I ate. So it was kind of convenient, I guess, with the cereal design at least, because then you created like a little mini churros, which are very, very similar to Cinnamon Stick. But I know that was just licensing. I know you weren't even on Earth working on the cereals, but it was part of the plan. And I guess I did feel a connection to Cinnamon Stick, so I was relieved as Cinnamon Stick kind of started waving. And at the time, I didn't realize this, but at the same time saying, like, looking at Moth Breath and letting Moth Breath know that Cinnamon Stick could see Moth Breath. And Moth Breath circled around, though Cinnamon Stick was still on the ground. And you said, don't worry, we have a plan. And you had already kind of done another show. And it meant a lot to me, I guess, because there was always these truisms, right? Bend, don't break, was one of them that you kind of turned on its head and lean in. But also, what's the chances that Cinnamon Stick's natural shape, or I guess, well, the natural shape of a produced cinnamon stick, which is curled in on itself, would actually be perfect for absorbing wind gusts and propelling them back towards the gust source. So, I don't know, I can't remember the song because I had so many things going on, but bend, don't break, lean in, your natural shape will take, the wind will head back towards its wake or so. I can't remember. It was catchy, and I liked how there was dancing and leaning in. And I don't know if this is just me, but the idea that Moth Breath was still in this passive action or passive active conflict, like, again, very much like different martial arts. Even though at this point it was still at a distance, taking the wind, blowing it back at Moth Breath, and Moth Breath getting more and more frustrated. Now, at the same time, I had to take action because I didn't know how this was going to turn out. I know how I wanted it to turn out. So I'd sent a large team undercover to Big One's atoll. And we had already kind of had a team there, but we sent a larger team to deal with these people that had a moth-based belief system because they had gotten in and we did not know about them. I mean, Big One's atoll is large, and we try, even with the teams we have living there, they're supposed to maintain very, very low profile because the worst thing that could happen is you wake the big ones up. So we sent them to meet, to gather up the people who believe in moth breath, who woke moth breath, and we're going to start interviewing them and trying to find out what's going on, because you have your own opinion on it, that moth breath was just foul. And now, okay, I'm watching. Going to have to stop because this is another thing that's about to unfold between moth breath and, oh, wait a second. So you had another song just coming out about spicy, and moth breath tried to use its beak to take some cinnamon stick, which we learned from the whole cinnamon cereal, cinnamon stick thing. You don't want to take a bite of a cinnamon stick. It's hard and spicy. And I like that spicy chant, that one. But so, I don't know. I do not want to be placed in my father's position again. And I'm not talking about the position of becoming a big one. I'm talking about the choice my father made that led to all of that. Because the choice I'm facing would be much more amplified in order to so I'm just hoping this works out, because we're talking about 1,000 times more powerful than what my father had to do. But now they're going back and forth in some sort of dance, which it looks like, this is a bit like wrestling, like dramatized wrestling, professional wrestling, I think is what it was called. And they're going back and forth, flipping one another and spinning, and moth breath is diving and splashing. And I just wonder how this is going to turn out. This is interesting. So I guess I'll have to wait till you're going to catch me up. Okay, so I'm recording again, and I have two things in balance. One is that this is still going on, and you are very excited. The whole world's excited. For the most part, a large portion of the world is cheering for cinnamon stick, though there does seem to be some fans of moth breath, which doesn't seem to make any sense to me. But I guess people, contrarians are to the contrary. And you're working, it seems like, because I guess my question is, how much can we control this, right? And then can we win? Can cinnamon stick defeat moth breath? And what does that mean? And it seems like cinnamon stick, that you're kind of, I don't know if lagging indicator is the wrong word, but when you broadcast something, it has some effect, an indirect effect on cinnamon stick. Now, the good news is all the other reports have gotten, now these aren't helpful, they're just good news, is that this participatory thing is being very well responded to by children and adults throughout the world. And so that is very, very exciting, as if we have a long-term solution, because so it is helpful, and you are helping with their feelings. But I just don't know, in the face of two giant beings, how helpful that is right now. But it is a piece of good news that I want to talk about because it helps me. talk while I'm waiting here and watching this, and my advisors are trying to knock and say, and I said, no, I need to focus. I need my talk out time to talk. In this case, I'm talking to you. I don't know if you knew that I used to make recordings for my father before this. And some would say it was silly, and some I would delete, or most I would delete, because I knew he could hear me, or I believed he could hear me. Or sometimes I did. So most of the time I just, another part of me said, this is silly, but it does have a practical use. Now, you did invite me into the writer's room and performer's room. And I will say that this is the first time I've seen you swept up in a wave of emotion, too. And everyone there, the atmosphere is electric, and I think you're connecting with the atmosphere. And you do seem to think that Cinnamon Stick can win. And it's interesting now, you being open to some consultations about strategy and saying, okay, well, we're not going to do it. We're just trying to slowly frustrate moth breath into making an error or tiring out, even though we know nothing about the physiology, or getting too close, and then Cinnamon Stick would embrace. I guess that's your theory. Is it to embrace or use a cinnamon stick, just like you channeled the wind through the channels of the cinnamon stick? Like, I don't know, you said you're working on, open up. I don't know. I didn't follow all that because I said, okay. Because I guess I always think, then what? So Cinnamon Stick would hold moth breath in an embrace. And then what are we going to do? And he said, don't worry, we'll get to that when we get to that. But again, I say, okay, well, can Cinnamon Stick walk on the bottom of the ocean? Can Cinnamon Stick swim? I mean, Cinnamon Stick's in a very, on the shores of a place that tried to plant a ship to use the big ones offensively, and who now feel like we're using, that got turned against them. So I'm supposed to just trust that things are going to work out, even though you said they're not going to work out 100% good or 100% bad. So I don't know. I just need to talk that out. And then the stuff with the people with the moth-based belief system. So this is just as confusing. When I started getting reports in, they said, yeah, most of these people are young adults, are almost kids. You would call them college age. And there are, range of adults and some younger children there too. But they got caught up in this idea, particularly moth breath. And I think the moth breath just has this allure about it, maybe because of the journey it took over the history of the big ones, from actually being a caterpillar to a moth, or whatever you call it, larvae or whatever, and that transformation. And then the fact that there were stingers associated with, that it could be, I don't know, it's strange that out of all the big ones, that particular one had the most allure. But it's also a contrast to you, because now not everyone, as they've been getting the reports of these interviews that have been going on with all these moth-based believers, but there are some people that really believe in it, just like you believe in Cinnamon Stick and this performance of joy and dance. So it is interesting, right, that this is happening. They're both happening at the same time, and they do believe that they can influence moth breath, and that moth breath, and they're a little dismayed they said moth breath did what all of you couldn't do, sealed up all the other big ones. And then all moth breath did was try to deal with the split atoms that were in that ship. Like, why would one place try to send split atoms to another place to attract big ones? Of course, moth breath's going to try to deal with that. And that moth breath is the hero we're looking for. Now, there's different degrees to that. There's people that just said, well, I just hoped, or what else am I going to do? Like, I wanted to take action. So, I don't know, I'm trying to identify and find the commonalities, because otherwise I would be in a place of just pure judgment where I can't think clearly. That's why I do these talk outs. Okay, so they arrived on the island. They made a home. They located moth breath. They'd met, over the interwebs and stuff, and participated and got interested and vetted one another. They had an application process and, to see who was participating. It was really actually thorough, and the reports I'm getting are very thorough. Obviously it's all easy to track, but that you could join and you could gather information and participate in their discussions about moth breath and this mythology, or I guess in a sense a religion. And you could do all that, but to get to the final stages, for the most part, you also had to participate and to ease your way into being a part of this group, this community. And, for the most part, part of me wants to say, okay, but except that they're making other demands, right, for a lot of goods. And they said, well, if you don't listen to, and I think that might be the youth, or there's a theories coming in from the interviewers that it's like two leadership groups of the moth-based belief system, and one wants some more tangible results. But again, looking at it from, if I like putting myself in their shoes, you say, okay, well, what if the big ones are going to be around for a long time? Well, then we would need plenty of supplies and tangible goods for trade and different things, to keep us in a position of power. So I guess I can understand those demands. Or if moth breath, I don't think very many people are 100% in, right? They say, well, what if moth breath, let's get what we can, just in case things don't work out. What if moth breath doesn't just, we don't sing and moth breath does what we want moth breath to do? Now, they were also searching for beings from another planet, and that's a part of their belief system. I haven't had a chance to sit down and absorb everything. And I know this is somehow related, to the history of moth breath, but some of that stuff was uncovered as not true, and some of it was uncovered as plausible. But they're searching also for these two beings from another world that can also, so they actually, they're not exactly controlling moth breath directly. They're making their pleas to these two twins from another world, where apparently they have twins as well. And the twins are influencing moth breath. But that's happening on a vibrational level, which goes into somehow related to your manifestation theory that I don't know, this confusing stuff. One of the things that sticks most out to me, though, is motivation. Because I look at the similarities and I try to take 3 more steps, step into shoes and step also 3 steps back to look at things. And I look at your motivations and at least and your actions. Do they align with your motivations, which seems to be, or the other impacts of your actions, which is helping people feel their feelings about the big ones. and have some empowerment, right? That does seem to not be a pure motivation, but the results in what is driving the action is an empowered thing. I guess as a leader, I'd say, okay, that's a different kind of empowerment. Harder because I can't even buy into it totally. And again, I'm trying to figure out my choices that I have to make and that I don't want to make them. And that's why I'm talking things out too. Now, everyone with a moth-based belief system, even with these two kind of leadership styles within their community, most of the belief is not coming from the same place. Now, it's not coming from a place that's all good or all bad, but the feelings driving their actions and the results from their actions are more in the FEAR zone, where that's what's guiding their choices. So, and kind of the vibrations that are heading out from them is like, what can we do? Because this is not going well. And like almost like a place of non-acceptance. I can't accept. So I wonder if that's really your theory, which doesn't help me. None of it helps me, I guess. Because what if you're really, I mean, this is just my imagination now. So maybe I'm operating from that same space of not feeling on solid ground. But what if you're trying to teach us to live with the big ones? But then why would Cinnamon Spice materialize or come to our aid? I don't know. So what we know from Big Ones Atoll is that we don't really know anything. And why I'm talking things out is because I don't want to make a choice. I have one big option, which is to make Big Ones Atoll go bye-bye forever. But and all of the leaders of the world, of at least cooperative nations, but a lot of the other places are aware, and to make Big Ones Atoll go bye-bye. It is an atoll in a volcanic area, and while it's very isolated, making it go bye-bye with all the big ones in a way that we would be pretty certain would have an impact on a large swath of the world. It would kind of change the geography of the world and impact everybody in a non-positive way. So it's a trade-off, I guess you would say. And, my father was placed in a position as president of the United States to make it with Nevada and California and the western states. And people never, even I, could I still am trying to go through those stages of healing from that, I guess. And I guess we never had a chance because we were dealing with these other events, so the big ones, and the changes in the world leadership and all of those things. I don't know how much healing's been going on with that, and that was on a much smaller scale, though a large scale. So it's like I don't want to have to even make that choice because I don't know what I would choose, right? Even now, and I know what I have everybody's opinions, but it stops with me. But again, they say, well, if the big ones awake and leave the Big Ones Atoll, we should have, we should have done this earlier or whatever. And I say, no, we're not doing anything till the astronaut returns. And we test out the Planet Zipper plan. But I thought the Planet Zipper plan would involve some technology or some clear, tangible thing. So that said, as I've been talking, it seems like Cinnamon Spice is doing very well, and I just watching now is Moth breath has tried to do another strategy, but seems tired. Doesn't seem to have full power of flight. Moth breath is spitting now. Silk spits. And I don't know, a couple of them, cinnamon stick kind of batted back. A couple of stuck on cinnamon stick. But it doesn't seem... I don't know if moth breath was trying to, make cinnamon stick and not be able to. Oh, it did. Okay. So my theory was right. It's trying to cover up cinnamon stick's eyes. But you had already said, okay, we do suspect that the cinnamon sticks, that moth breath's last move, which now I'm watching it, will be to try to seal cinnamon stick up in silk. But it seems a little bit sloppy. I don't know if that's because of the exhaustion of moth breath. I don't even know how long this has been going on for, days. But that, so right now moth breath is kind of circling and spraying cinnamon stick. Okay, now more in a deliberate way. Because again, we watch moth breath. I guess in the history of the big ones, we've seen this happen before in action. But not, when moth breath sealed up all the big ones on big ones, they told everyone was hibernating. Okay, but cinnamon stick is getting sealed up in a silk kind of cocoon. But you had said, don't worry, that's what we suspect will happen. We already have a plan, and we have it already set in place. And now everyone is watching. And, okay, so they're going to go to split screen and start airing the show. Oh, and you're using the spicy thing. Oh, and kind of like, and again, the same themes you've been using. Okay, I see you. You had something spicy, touched something hot. Oh, it's hot, it's spicy. Oh, but to kind of let it out, feel it, again, about, don't touch it again, or maybe not touch it, eat that again. I think that's what was that what that move said? Or that doesn't taste good? Okay, so spicy, it's hot, and a little back off, and now, moth breath is kind of circling above, but you can kind of already see the heat coming from cinnamon stick. Wow. So it is working. And this one's even more of a direct, wow, I can even feel it. That might sound, well, I guess I don't know if you feel it at the broadcasting or your team feels it, but I guess I said the feeling was infectious. But this is happening live, and I know that the children of the world feel good about this, the people of the world, or at least maybe I'm imagining, or maybe I'm feeling it. Wow, and the silk, cinnamon stick standing up, the silk is kind of in oh no. What is moth breath doing? It landed not that far from cinnamon stick, all the tatters of the silk, moth breath kind of yelling, cinnamon sticks trying to rip off some of its. Wait a second. Now moth breath is taking off with. Oh, it looks like it. Okay, I'll be back here in a second. I got to check in with you. Okay, so, now it looks like our confidence was misplaced. That I don't know how we fell into this. And you were very frustrated with yourself, not with me. And you said we lost. I guess I lost my. Can you trust too much, or what's the difference between trust and faith and overconfidence? It seems like we got caught up in that wrestling idea or the action, and I got caught up in it because I definitely underestimated moth breath. And as I watched things unfold, I fell into that I was swept away. But it seems like, at least apparently, Moth Breath, either Moth Breath made the most of a bad situation or had planned this and implemented it. It created a sling and took off with Cinnamon Stick into the sky. And there's nothing Cinnamon Stick can do because Moth Breath is flying pretty high. And you said that you lost your direction. I mean, this is all happening so fast, it's understandable, but you kind of got caught up in the action versus the purpose, and you're still saying, okay, we're working on this. So we don't know how this is going to unfold. Right now, you're telling people to just relax. It's going to be okay. But I mean, Moth Breath is definitely heading back to Big One's atoll, which leaves me in quite a position here. We've told the Moth Breath-based believers that we've given the option to leave with a lot of our teams that are leaving Big One's atoll. I mean, the return of a sentient Moth Breath. I mean, there could be, who knows what's going to happen with Cinnamon Stick and Moth Breath when they get to the island. But also that I have to make, we've given them the choice to stay, but that the island may not exist. And so everyone's getting as far away from the Big One's atoll as they can. But the reality is that this could work out in a way it could work out for the best in a way I don't want it to work out for the best. And now Moth Breath is circling Big One's atoll. And with Cinnamon Stick, well, Moth Breath dropped Cinnamon Stick right into the volcano and is now just circling the island and making a lot of noise. The volcano seems to be, maybe that's spicy, like it's ejecting things. That's probably not good. And there's a lot of steam coming from the island. Okay, but you're calling me in, so let me like you're of course going to tell me to hope. So I hope you're right. Okay, so back again. And so since we talked, Moth Breath has landed on the rim of the volcano and has been yelling, and the remaining Moth Breath-based believers are gathered. I don't know how good Moth Breath's eyes are, but singing and praising Moth Breath. But you theorized, and your show has gone through with, and it was impressive to watch this team of that had been assembled of writers from around the world and experts from around the world, and then the writers leaving and working on their own, and the performers that I guess you said the most important things are, can we see cinnamon spice, which was more of a question for everybody's hearts. And then to the team and to me, can we see the kids of the world seeing cinnamon spice? And I guess one thing is, I guess I'm not sure I want to feel all this when I know what my choice has to be, right? But then you said, can we see cinnamon spice seeing us, seeing cinnamon spice, or seeing the children of the world? And I said, holy John Berger, this is a totally different direction, though. So we're seeing the children of the world having their real feelings, seeing cinnamon spice. And we and the children of the world are supposed to also be imagining or seeing themselves as cinnamon spice, seeing that. And I don't know how you did it through song and dance and metaphor. I mean, at least for me, you just broke it down clearly, because I don't know if I guess I didn't need to pick up, or the children don't need to pick up on that. That's what you were doing. And then that how Cinnamon Spice is doing, and then seeing Cinnamon Spice, seeing Moth Breath, and then seeing Moth Breath, seeing the big ones, because there has been some activity with the big ones. We don't, I don't know, there's like reports on the ground, we cleared out so many people that one of the big ones is stirring from some volcanic activity. But that also drove you to say, well, how do you think Moth Breath is feeling about all this? And then, again, it seemed to work. I said, what is this going to manifest something else or what? And I don't know, and I did know that one of the things was stirring hot cocoa with the cinnamon stick, and that just suddenly everybody, but that you could do that literally or imaginatively, in thinking about the volcano and your feelings and all that. I picked up on that metaphor. Well, is it a metaphor? And then the steam started to rise out of the volcano. And a different kind of steam, and Moth Breath just kind of sat there, staring, looking, right, and then looking at the steam, and then looking at the big ones, looking at big ones atoll, looking at the moth-based believers, and it getting more and more steamy, and that was kind of the song, steamy, it's hot, steamy, I feel hot, and I mean, this is, again, strange to say, but I'm trying to talk things out and feel them and talk them out and feel them. I mean, these are tools that, I've learned over the years too, but like I haven't been in touch with those feelings about my father or about being in a leadership position and making choices that are tough and that I don't want to make. And not wanting to have hope, so I could feel it too. And then also, well, we got carried away earlier when I was having feelings, and but that makes me feel steamy. It's hot. And more steam seemed to pour over Moth Breath, and Moth Breath got wetter and wetter and steamier and steamier. And then I mean, I don't know, I've seen some of the stills, I've seen some of the videos. It did seem like there was a steam version of Cinnamon Stick there for a time, sitting next to Moth Breath and also enveloping Moth Breath. First arm around the shoulder. I don't know, like, was that the dance? It's just in my head of sitting, putting your arm around somebody having cocoa, stirring it with a cinnamon stick. Is it my man? But so steamy, it's hot. And then that change started to occur. The Moth Breath started to get so wet and shaggy, and the steam kind of seemed to absorb Moth Breath in a steam cocoon, I guess is all you could say. And that we couldn't see anything, other than the steam pouring off the mountain and the steam and the fog surrounding Big One's atoll. And then out of that into the sky. And again, because of satellites and everything, we had the shots. There was drones from different media organizations. And above the steam flew something that was different than Moth Breath, but that was somehow a fusion of Moth Breath and Cinnamon Stick. Flying with a kind of steamy hot grace higher and higher into the sky and out of our atmosphere, out of our world. And from all reports, we're having trouble following them or tracking them. But that they've left Earth and they've passed the I don't know where they're going. I mean, part of me wants to say Planet Zipper, I don't know. So I guess I can't shake it. Are they coming back? What are they doing? What was that? But I don't have that luxury either. I have to make a decision. We have another big one stirring. So I have to kind of take some time now, listen to the advice coming in, the opinions coming in, the facts coming in, and make a choice here and process it while we wait and see which big one is waking. Now, right now, there's still a lot of steam and fog. Is there a big one about to come out of hibernation? Multiple big ones. My choice, but I'm going to feel my feelings about it too. I'm going to feel steamy. I'm going to feel spicy. But I'm also going to try to see everybody that's having those feelings inside me. And even when I consult with everybody, I hope. So in some sense, I guess I'm saying thank you. But also, I'm saying thank you as a warning because I'm going to have other strong feelings that might impact how that I'm not treating you from a place of caring, of seeing you, how you're seeing things, or seeing you having feelings from seeing things too. So I hope I can stay connected to that. So thanks for putting that tool in my toolbox, and I'll miss cinnamon spice, but I guess I could have a bowl. I don't know if I could have a bowl of it, but I'm going to rest for a little while before I try to move on to this next decision-making process. So if you're listening to this, I'm going to say I'm going to see myself saying goodnight to myself. Good night. All right, this is Scoots. I want to thank everybody that reviewed the podcast recently. Helene from Great Britain said, my whole family listens. My daughter loves Bake Off. My husband and I love all of them. Scooter's kind and sweet and helps put us to sleep. Yeah, then a recent trend has people promoting other podcasts in the reviews, which don't necessarily appreciate. Tonal says, this podcast really works. Appreciate your efforts. Thank you. KT says, like magic. It took a couple of days to get used to the podcast, but now I don't even get past the intro. Stories sound inviting. Best podcast for sleeplessness. So thank you. Very helpful. That's from Allie. Listened to it for 2 nights recently, and it really helped me fall asleep. Thank you so much. So those are all the reviews. Then I think we signed up for a referral program recently. Abigail, Alexis, Lex already got a referral. Lori, Mary, Aiden, James, Sarah signed up, already got 1 referral. Austin, Heidi signed up, got 4 referrals already. You do have to remember to share your link multiple times. You can sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer. MJ Bruce Leggy's got a referral. Kathy, Stephanie, Amy, Griffin, Mary, David, Mal, Louisa, Nick, Mark, Elena, and Faith. So thanks everybody that signed up for a referral program. And thanks to all of you that are sharing your link on a regular basis, because it does take, just like on the podcast, do stuff on a regular basis. It does take a little bit of repeated just sharing and stuff. So thanks for supporting the show. Sleep With Me exists as a show because of people who support the show, whether it's our referral program, Patreon, or supporting our sponsors. We're just spreading the word for, when it comes up in natural conversation, even if it's just about podcasting. So thank you so much. Couldn't do it without all of you. And what else? I think that's it. Here's a little bit more Tuck You In sponsor that has been able for us to expand the episodes in the feed. Thanks.